You wanna go, you wanna leave. So baby, come and get away with me. You wanna go, you wanna leave.
And so I'm training now with John Sinfellow, and he's showing me all kinds of stuff I didn't know about machining and different aircraft structures and just it's just a totally different ball game, to what I was used to. Because I was used to welding and pipe fitting pipe and welding inspection, but now we're doing all this machining inspection and learn about airplanes and aluminums and different stuff. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, but any information that helps you grow will benefit you in the long run. And so we're just going about everyday life, just going to work and just I'm still deep in scripture. I'm still seeking the Lord heavily as much as I can. And me and my wife are living at her friend's house with our daughter, and my wife's getting up there, 7-8 months pregnant now. And she's getting ready to have the baby here pretty soon. And the Lord's still giving her dreams too. Still giving her dreams about all kinds of stuff. And so my wife ends up having the baby. She has a boy. And we named him Kaiden. And he came out healthy and beautiful and everything like that. And she's just totally shocked because the Lord gave her dreams about this, of what the baby would be, that he would be a boy and everything else. And so we're just going about living our life, and stuff like that. During this time, my job ends up switching me on to second shift, and my wife stays on first shift. And then my wife's friend was working third shift. So my wife would help her out with the kid during the day and stuff like that, And I wouldn't get home till like midnight or something. My wife was already sleeping by the time I got home. So it is what it is. But I felt like me and my wife started pulling away from each other while we were living at her friend's house. And I don't know if it had anything to do with the different shifts we were working with, not spending so much time together. I really don't know, but me and my wife started pulling away from each other. And during this time, like that chick who I mentioned like a year ago, she would set up a fake profile and still try to message my wife once in a while and try to, start all kinds of drama. And we didn't want any of this drama, all that was in the past, done over with, go your separate ways. And so during this time, my wife started pulling away from me heavily, and, I'm still really, really involved in church, ministering to people in His Word. I've seen a few healings out of my own hands, which might be hard for you guys to believe, but it's true. I was so deep in scripture and teachings, like I was just stepping out there on the streets and just praying for people. When I would go to the grocery store, I would just intentionally try to run into 3 or 4 people at every grocery store or Walmart or whatever, and just asked them if I could pray for them, And I seen a few healings. Prayed for a guy at the gym, and his elbow was totally healed. And that's another story all in itself. But, I was seeing the Lord move and work through me in mighty ways that would be like, if you were a brand new Christian in the faith, you'd probably deny it or not understand it. But I was totally and fully understanding this, now stepping out in faith and just hoping that God would move. And He was moving. And it was really, really crazy. So now, the last time I fasted was 5 days, I was increasing my fasting. I was just trying to get deeper and deeper in the Lord. And during this time, I'm working second shift, and they moved me from John Sinfellow's area to another area, and I'm working with a totally different group of people now, but everything's going fine. I get along with everybody. It has, I'm not worried about, working with different people. I get along with a lot of different people. So I'm ministering to people at work all over the place, whether they believe in him or not. I'm ministering to them. And that's what it was. So then I start experimenting with fasting. I wanted to fast 10 days. I want to get that under my belt. So I started doing 10-day fasting. And I fasted for 10 days a couple times while I was on second shift. And during this time, my wife is heavily pulling away from me, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a mixture of all things, of maybe that chick kept messaging me, or maybe I was seeking the Lord too much. I don't know. I was still trying to be a good husband however I could, but everything was totally different because she was on first shift and I was on second. I wouldn't get home till midnight, and she would see me a little bit in nighttime, and then in the morning she was gone, and that was it. And the only time we could really spend with each other was on the weekends. So during all this, I'm still working second. She's on first, and she texts me one night and says that chick was messaging her again. And so I looked over the messages, and they seemed kind of funny. It didn't even seem like it come from an English-speaking person, because that's what that chick is. It seemed like it come from someone who wasn't an English-speaking person. And so when I got home, I tried to show this to my wife, and she wasn't trying to hear any of it. And the next morning, my wife's friend asked me to move out, if I can move out. And I was like, well, yeah, if you want me to move out, I'll move out, So my wife's friend asked me to move out of the house, and my wife's got a daughter and another baby. It's like, man, what do you do in a situation like this? I'm the father of these two kids, and that's my wife, and her friends asked me to move out. So there's nothing I could do. So I just respect her wishes, and I go get an apartment and I move out, because that's what her friend wants. And so my wife stays there with her friend and our two children. And I was expecting that my wife was going to come live with me in the apartment, but she never did. She stayed with her friend. And I didn't know what to think about a lot of this. I was so torn. I was trying to think what's going on. I was praying to the Lord a lot, trying to figure out what's going on with this situation. I didn't understand any of it. And I was just, so torn because, I got married to my wife. We had kids together. We moved into her friend's house. And then after that, we just started pulling away from each other. And I was so torn. I started to get depressed and stuff. I didn't know what to do. And just life just became a real big struggle for me at the time. So this is when I started fasting some more, done another 10-day fast. The Lord showed me a few dreams about what was going on with me and my wife. But I'm not going to mention it here on this channel, because this is real intimate stuff that needs to be kept between me and the Father. And then I went on another 12-day fast, and he showed me more stuff that was going on. So, at this time, I was getting depressed, didn't have my family with me. Like I could only see my kids like on the weekends or something like that. Our schedules were so messed up and everything. And they lived on the other side of town where my apartment was. It was just, I was only able to see my kids like every other weekend. And my wife, she would come and drop my kids off, and then she would leave. She would go hang out with her friends or whatever. And it's just like, man, well, she's letting me see the kids, but she doesn't want to see me, I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to put it all together, and I was just going through a real hard time. And I broke down a few times and asked her, do you still want to be with me, or do you not? And she didn't really have no clear answer. She just kept saying, I don't know. But so that's what was going on with me and my wife at this time. And this is right around maybe September 2018. And so I'm living in an apartment, and my wife's over on the other side of town living with her friend, and our 2 kids are over there. And it is what it is. All I can do is just keep living life, not give up, and just keep pressing forward. That's all I can do. But I'm so torn because my son lives in Wyoming, and but I have kids with my wife, and they're young. So I need to be here with my young kids and my wife. So I'm just real torn at this time. I'm trying to think things through and what's my best option, and what do I need to do. This is when I'm really seeking the Lord heavily, was when I was living in this other apartment. And so as more and more time goes by, even like my mom came to visit me for Thanksgiving, and my mom told me, well, don't you think you're getting a little too carried away with seeking the Lord? And I was like, no, Mom, no, that shouldn't have anything to do with it, I still love my wife, still love my kids and everything. It's just I need some clear answers. I need to know what she wants, I hope that she wants to pursue a relationship with me, but that's totally on her. That's her option. You can't force nobody. So as more and more time goes on, I think we get into 2019 now. And finally, my wife gives me a clear answer, and she says she does want to work on our relationship, and she does want to be together. That's what she told me. So we made that decision. We made that decision on buying a house and moving back in with each other, and start working on our relationship and be a family, so we could raise our kids together and be together, And I want that, she wants that, so that's what we're trying to do. And so all this stuff, it's everybody goes through hard things in life, but you just have to be strong and work through them, and you could get through them. Even if you guys end up splitting up or whatever the outcome is, just stay strong, stay in there, keep working away at your relationship, try to be a better person, try to work things out for the better. And if you guys split up, go your separate ways, still be there for your kids as much as you can. So after all this time, she decides she still wants to be with me and everything like that. And I'm really getting sick and tired of working at this job in Wichita at the aircraft company, because they're not paying me very well. And it seems like I'm just spinning my wheels, not making no progress. They said they brought me in so I could be a welding inspector and to teach some of the classes to some of the other inspectors. And they were talking about giving me a pay raise, but all that got thrown out the window because both of my bosses got moved to separate areas. And so I'm real confused here, thinking like, man, what's going on? And so my wife mentions to me that her sister lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and she says she would rather move closer to her sister and live in Atlanta, Georgia, or else Florida, so she can be closer to her sister, because she has a stronger relationship with her sister that lives down there than her other siblings. And so we talked things through, and I told her, well, if you want to move down there, I could start looking for a job in Georgia or Florida or something like that. And she says, well, that sounds like a good deal. Go ahead and start looking for a job. And if you find a good job out there, go ahead and move out there. And then you buy a house, and I'll follow you, and we'll work on our relationship there. And so I start looking for jobs out in Florida, And as more and more time goes on, I end up getting a call from somebody down here in Florida that flies me out. He likes, I done a Skype interview with him. He likes me, so he flew me out to Florida, and he made me a good offer. So I accepted the job in Florida, in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And so they paid for all my moving expenses and everything. And my wife knows all about this. So these are our plans, that I was going to move out here. She was going to follow, and we'd work on our relationship together. And so, In August of 2019, I ended up moving down to Cape Canaveral, Florida, and start a new chapter in my life there. So just stick with me, guys. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell icon. And I got plenty more to come. We'll see you on the next one.